hands down. Miss Alexander, do you have any other witnesses that you wish to call besides the parties?
No, Your Honor, no further witnesses.
Miss Bennett, do you have any other witnesses that you wish sworn?
No, Your Honor.
All right. This appears to be a suit that was filed by the state back in January 2023, Miss Alexander.
Yes, Your Honor.
I have reviewed the lawsuit filed by the state as well as the answer filed by Miss Bennett. The state may call your first witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just to put it on the record, Your Honor, we do have a partial agreement, and the only issues before the court is phased-in visits and back child support. So if I may, I'm just going to go through the agreement and have the parties acknowledge that they agreed to the terms that they've agreed, and then go back and do questions as to the other issues.
All right.
All right, and the state will call Miss Limrick. Now, we do have a partial agreement, and I'm going to go through what the terms are that you've agreed to. Now, do you have any safety concerns between
No,
your?
ma'am.
Okay. Do you have any concerns if your address is put into the court record?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Now, we've agreed that it's going to be joint managing conservator, and you are going to be the person to designate where Cabry lives anywhere in Jefferson County and any county that touches Jefferson County and Newton County. Is that your agreement?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, there was some DNA testing done, and it did come back that Mr. Watson is 99.99% that he cannot be excluded, and you're asking the court to find that he is the biological father, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the other thing that we've agreed to is once we figure out what the phased-in visits are, depending on what the court orders, is that you are ultimately in agreement that dad would ultimately end up with the expanded standard possession. Excuse me, the expanded standard possession order. Is that your agreement?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now we're in agreement that dad is going to cover the health and dental through his employer. Is that your agreement?
Yes, ma'am.
Now I calculated his child support based on what his current income is and given him credit for the health insurance that he's going to be covering through his employer and the union dues that he pays each month through his employer. And the child support will be $1,668, and that will begin November 1st, 2023. Is that your agreement?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then the other thing would be the retro, but that's not in agreement, and we'll address that in a second. Okay.
Okay.
All right. No further questions as to the witness as to the agreement at this time, Your Honor. If I may call Mr. Watson as to the agreement. Now, you're both in agreement that it's going to be joint managing conservatorship, and mom is going to be the person to designate where Cabry lives anywhere in Jefferson County and any county that touches Jefferson County and Newton County. Is that your agreement?
Yes, ma'am.
And once we determine what any phased-in visits will possibly be, the agreement is ultimately that you would get the expanded standard possession order. Is that your agreement?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And is it your agreement that you will be covering Cabry through your health and dental through your employer? Is that your agreement?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I did calculate your child support based on what you had provided to me through your attorney, and giving you credit for the health insurance cost and for the cost of the monthly union dues, and that child support amount will be $1,668, and that will start November 1st, 2023. Is that your agreement?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That's everything as to the agreement, Your Honor. And if I may, I'd like to recall Ms. Limrick as to the other issues.
Okay.
Okay. Ms. Limrick, how often, how old is Cabry?
She's 1.
Okay, and when she'll be 2 in January, correct?
January 26th. Yes, ma'am.
And how often does dad have visits? Has he had visits with Cabry since she was born?
Maybe 10 or 15 times.
Okay. And what were those visits? Were they just for a few hours?
He just showed up at the daycare and just stayed a couple minutes.
Okay. So where were all those visits that he's had? Where had they been?
At the daycare, at the sitter.
Okay. Now, is Cabry currently in daycare?
No, ma'am.
Okay. When was the last time that Cabry was in daycare?
She was in daycare last week because I had to do a drop in because I had a CPR class here in Beaumont and my grandmother couldn't keep her.
Okay. And prior to that, when was the last time that Cabry was in daycare?
We moved in August, so it was like the end of August.
Okay.
Like about the 26th, somewhere up in there.
Okay. Has Mr. Watson had any overnight visits with Cabry?
No, ma'am.
Has he had any visits with Cabry on his own where no one was around?
One time, and it was only for like 2 hours, and because he was trying to rush and bring her back.
And when was that visit?
Oh, it was when she wasn't even walking in. She was still crawling. It was in the winter months because it was cold. I say around about October, was it? No, September, probably September, October of last year.
Okay. And what type of visits are you asking for to lead up to Dad eventually having the expanded standard visits?
What do you mean when you say that? Like,
so are you asking for a phased-in visit? So you asking them
yes,
to be
I do want the phased-in visits to where she gets to know him first, and then I'm not mistaken. I was under the impression that then he would keep her like for a couple hours, and then it would go step on up from there.
okay? And are you asking for those visits to start with supervised phased-in?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And for each phase, which I have discussed with you, there's like 4 phases.
Mhm.
What do you think is a reasonable number of visits for each phase that you would ask the court for?
Well, I requested 6.
You were asking, okay. And who would you like to supervise those visits?
Well, I had in mind my father or my grandmother, but I was brought to the understanding that there wasn't. They had an issue.
Okay.
I don't know what the issue was with my grandmother.
Objection, non-responsive.
Sustained.
Who would you like to be the person to supervise the visits? Who would you like?
My father, Jesse Limrick, or my grandmother, Ora Jackson.
Okay. And where would you like the pick up and drop off once Dad gets past the supervised visit? If that is what is ordered, where would you like the pick up and drop off of Cabry to be?
I prefer it to be our home where we reside at.
Okay, from your residence. Did you and Mr. Watson ever live together?
No, ma'am.
Okay. What help, what support has Mr. Watson provided to you since Cabry was born for Cabry?
He helped with daycare. He bought her stroller and car seat. He did her pictures. He did give some money on her formula, and he also did some clothes. She needs some clothes. He sent some money for her clothes and diapers, wipes.
Okay, so how much was the daycare?
Daycare was anywhere between $400 to $500 a month. If it was 5 weeks in that month, it was $100 a week. So, and
Okay.
we went ahead. When it fell into the 5th week, it didn't matter who called it. Just as long as somebody called it, it was paid for.
And how much of the daycare did Mr. Watson pay?
He paid $200. I paid $200. I don't have the exact amount for it, like the months.
Okay, and how long did he do that for?
Up until October, the beginning of October.
In October of what year?
22.
Okay, so, and when did he start paying for that daycare? Was that starting when?
She didn't start in daycare till April of, she was 4 months old.
Okay, so April of 2022?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and he was paying a half. And for the stroller, car seat, formula, clothes, and diapers, how much do you think that might have been monetarily?
Probably anywhere from about $2,000 or $3,000.
Did he give you any other monies to help you support Cabri other than what you've stated?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And are you asking for back child support?
Yes, ma'am.
And when are you asking the child support to go back to?
From birth.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
Call you next week. Oh,
Um,
I'm sorry. Miss Bennett, I was looking at numbers and lost my spot. Miss Bennett, do you have any questions of Miss Limrick?
Yes, I do, Your Honor. It would
Go
be
ahead.
great. Ms. Limerick, what's your current address?
Wait,
Highway 2.
stop.
Okay,
I'm live on the internet. Let's
Okay.
not ask that question.
okay. Okay.
Sorry, Miss Bennett. I don't mean to
No,
tell you,
I'm
but
trying to figure this out. Okay. Do you live at the same address 7 days a week?
Yes, ma'am.
Um, and you also have another child, correct?
Correct.
And what school district does that child go to?
Right now, he's in Beaumont.
Okay. Do you live in Beaumont?
No, ma'am.
How long have you not lived in Beaumont?
Since August
Of what year?
this year.
Okay. And do you drive from Newton to Beaumont every day to take that child to school?
No, his dad helps. His dad lives in Silsby.
Okay. Do you have a residence in Beaumont at all right now?
Yeah, I own my home in Beaumont. Yes,
Okay. But you don't stay there?
because I can't afford to pay taxes and pay all these bills by myself.
Who stays at the house in Beaumont?
Nobody can stay there right now. We can't afford to keep lights and stuff on if I had to move.
And when's the last time you've lived there in Beaumont?
August.
And you've not been there since?
I still have to come check on my place, and I have not forwarded the mail.
Okay, so all your mail still goes to a Beaumont address?
Yes,
And your son goes to a Beaumont school, correct?
correct.
And the baby that we're here about today goes to a daycare in Beaumont, correct?
No, ma'am. She does not.
When's the last time she's been there?
She was a drop-in last week because I had to do CPR class.
A drop into a daycare in Beaumont?
No, it's a lady that does it out of her home. She's a private sitter.
And where's she located?
She's located here in Beaumont.
Are you in Beaumont today?
No, ma'am. I'm at my grandmother's.
Why do you use a sitter all the way in Beaumont if you're living in Newton?
I didn't say she's not in daycare, ma'am. I had to do a drop-in. My grandmother couldn't keep her that day that I had CPR. So I had to drop in. That was the same day that Mr. Watson showed up to the daycare.
Okay, because you've told the daycare that Mr. Watson cannot come see the child, correct?
Correct.
And
Not
he's
at
been
daycare.
he can't go to the daycare to see the child, and he's been reaching out to you consistently to ask to see the child, and you've not let him see the child, correct?
No, he has not consistent. He only did this because you asked him to. The 2 times that he did reach out, he has not tried to reach out beforehand. Before we came to court, no, he did not.
When he's reached out to you to see the child, say the last 2 months, did you let him?
He didn't the last 2 months. It was April, the weekend before Easter. He reached out to my cousin to see about getting her. And he still never did. He complained about it, but he never did try to get something started to where he could see her. Then he did see her the following weekend at his mom's house, and he just bypassed her like she was nobody. He didn't even acknowledge her.
What is your sworn testimony when the last time Mr. Watson's asked to see the baby?
When last time he asked was like I have it written down. He sent a text on the 28th, on the 26th, and on the 28th and the 30th, he sent a text asking about seeing her. So I
On
told
what
him
month?
this month.
And what did you tell him?
I told him that I was advised not to talk to him because we didn't have an order or agreement or anything.
You told him he couldn't see the child, correct?
No, I didn't tell him he couldn't see her. I told him I was just ordered not to talk to him.
Okay. Who was ordered you that you couldn't talk to him?
I spoke with a representative, a lawyer.
And a lawyer told you couldn't talk to Mr. Watson about him seeing his child?
He just said, I advise, he said, since you're going through the court system, there's no need to talk to each other because you're already going through the court system. He knows that, you know, he could have been doing visitation before. Now he's only doing it because you asked him to show some type of that he's been trying, which he hasn't.
How long is the drive from where you're staying in Newton to the sitter you have in Beaumont?
She's like an hour and 15 minutes.
Okay. And then how long does it take you to get from Newton to take your son to school in Beaumont?
I don't take my son. I just told you. His dad lives in Silsby. His dad takes him to school.
And so you don't drop off or pick up your other child from school at all?
No,
Okay. Is the house in Beaumont for sale?
no.
Is it furnished?
Yes, I have things in here.
Objection, Your Honor, as to relevance.
Sustained.
What is your work schedule, Ms. Limrick?
I work Monday through Friday and every other weekend.
What are your hours?
It varies because I do home health through the weekdays. So it can be from 8 or 9 that morning to 5 or 6 at night. And then on the weekends, it's the every other weekend, sometimes it's doubles. When I work a double, it means it's going to be from 6 that morning to 10 at night, or either it can be just 6 to 2, 8 hours. It varies.
So like when you took the child for that one visit, what, a week or so ago to daycare, how much did that cost?
Come again?
You said you had to do a drop off at the sitter. How much was that?
I didn't have to pay her. That was courtesy because she likes Cabry. She was being nice and doing it for me.
Okay. When's the last time you've had to pay daycare anything?
Since August, since I moved in.
That's all I have for Ms. Limrick.
Your witness, Ms. Alexander.
And the state will call Mr. Watson.
You have no further questions of Ms. Limbrick?
Oh,
Correct.
no. No further
I'm sorry.
questions.
Go ahead. You call your next witness.
Mr. Watson,
Yes, ma'am.
He on his side, it's telling him that the host stopped his video. He was
I
trying.
did, because he doesn't have a strong enough internet connection to be able to hear him and see him.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
okay, Mr. Watson, again, we've got a partial agreement, so I'm going to ask you some questions as to the visits in the back child support. When was the last time that you visited with Cabry?
Last time I visited Cabry was June at the daycare.
Okay, and how long was that for?
4 hours.
So you spent 4 hours at the daycare visiting with Cabry.
I want to say it was 4 hours. Yes, ma'am. 4 hours. I was
Okay.
there.
And when was the last visit you had prior to that?
I went to Miss Limbrick's house and visited with Cabry.
And do you recall when that might have happened?
That was in February.
February of this year?
Yes, I had left the daycare and went by Miss Limbrick's house, and Cabry came, and I was playing with Cabry at her house.
Okay, and how long was that for?
About 45 minutes.
Okay. Have you had any overnight visits with Cabry?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Have you had any visits where no one was around, where it was just you and Cabry?
Yes, ma'am.
And when was that?
November the 12th of 2022.
Okay. And did you pick up Cabry from somewhere?
Yes, ma'am.
Where did you pick Cabry up from?
Luby's in Beaumont.
And you picked her up and took her to a visit for a visit somewhere, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And how long was that visit?
That visit was like 6 hours.
Okay. And it was that just you and Cabry?
Yes, ma'am. When I picked her up, yes, ma'am. Now, when I brought her back, I had my fiance with me.
Okay. If the judge was to order some supervised visits, who would you like to be the person to supervise the visits?
I would like my mom to be the supervised visit, being that she was bringing the kid to my mom's house all the time and telling my mom not to let me know that she was there.
Mr. Watson, have you provided any support for Cabry since Cabry was born?
Yes, ma'am.
And what kind of support have you provided for Cabry?
I was paying the daycare. I was buying milk when she needed it, diapers, wipes.
Okay. Now, when you were paying the daycare, how long was that for and how much were you paying each month?
I was paying $500 a month.
Okay.
And that started from I wanted March. It was from March of 2022 all the way up to the end of October.
Okay. And what year was that? October 2022?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The other items that you said you purchased or did you give mom cash directly?
Yes, ma'am.
And how much do you think you have given mom cash directly?
Total of about $3,000.
Okay. Now, is that cash that you gave her to purchase these items that you referenced?
Yes, ma'am. Some of those, yes, ma'am.
So other than the cash that you gave to mom to help her purchase the items like the stroller, car seat, formula, diapers, and clothes, and the daycare, have you given mom any other support?
Yes, ma'am. The strollers and diapers and stuff I bought on my own. I didn't give her cash to buy it. I bought that on my own.
Okay.
That was other expenses.
Okay. And how much do you
Yeah.
think you spent on the stroller and diapers additionally?
That stroller ran me like $500 because it was like a 4-in-1.
Okay. Well, and how much do you think with the other diapers and everything else that you
Man,
bought?
I was buying that in the bulk. So every month I was buying like
A rough guesstimate?
$2,000, $3,000 in diapers from Sam's in Beaumont.
Okay. And how many other children do you have other than Cabry?
I have one.
And is that child a minor or?
He's an adult. He's 21.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Your witness, Ms. Bennett.
Mr. Watson, I have a few questions for you. So, here's some background noise, Mr. Watson. I don't know if that's
Not me.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, so you paid $500 a month for daycare from March of 2022 or 22. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you testified that you've given her about $3,000 in cash directly, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Plus you've purchased stroller, diapers, stroller $500, diapers $2,000 to $3,000. You've also bought formula and wipes.
Yes, ma'am.
Paid for pictures, clothes, other items.
Yes, ma'am.
If you had to put a total of what you've paid, we can do the math from March through October at $500 a month, and then we could do the math of the $3,000 in cash. How much do you think you've paid in total with the stroller, diapers, formula, wipes, and everything?
I would have to pull it up on a calculator. Give me a second.
Okay.
$10,000.
Okay.
I'm sorry, how much was that? What was that dollar
Did you
amount,
say-
Mr. Watson?
Ma'am.
Can you say that amount again?
$10,000.
When you have been communicating with Ms. Limrick in the past, where has she resided during the weeks?
Beaumont, Texas.
What did she tell you about where she lives?
She stayed in Beaumont, Texas. She just, as the first hearing that we had on this child support, she moved to Newton then. So that first hearing was September the something. Now she stays in Beaumont. That's when I first heard. I mean, she stay in Newton. That's when I first heard she stay in Newton. Other than that, she's been in Beaumont.
Okay. And I only ask that because that comes into play for the drop off and pickups, correct, Mr. Watson?
Yes, ma'am.
Because you work in Orange.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, you not had overnights with the child. Is that at your choice or because Miss Limerick wouldn't let you?
Miss Limrick wouldn't let me. I have reached out. She won't let me.
And you even reached out to the daycare this month and asked to come see the child. And what did they tell you?
When I went there the very first day, she told me to come back. I went there. I'm gonna tell you exactly what time it was. It was 11 o'clock. I went there. It was on a Wednesday. I went there on a Wednesday and it was 11 o'clock. She said, come back after 2 o'clock. So I said, yes, ma'am, I will. Cause the daycare lady was going somewhere. So I come back at 2 o'clock and before I can get out the car good, she said, oh, she just come picked her up soon after you left. She just come picked her up, but I'm gonna give you my number and you could text me and call me at any time.
And then you texted this month, correct?
Yeah. So the next day I went to the daycare and when I pull up, she sends me a text that I forwarded to you.
Mm-hmm.
On the behalf of me seeing Cabri at daycare, I was no longer allowed to see her at daycare anymore. Ms. Limrick advised me not to let you come because y'all have something going on in court right now until y'all get that resolved.
And Judge, that would be our exhibit 6 that we submitted. If we would like to admit into evidence as communications with the daycare provider. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'll object as to hearsay.
Okay.
That's sustained.
Mr. Watson, you have a 21-year-old, right? So
Yes,
you've
ma'am.
raised a kid before, correct? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
The times that the 6 hours when you had the baby alone, did you have any problems or issues or difficulties?
No, ma'am. Not at all.
Ideally, you want to get to the expanded standard possession order, which Ms. Limerick has agreed. The phase-in schedule that she's wanting 6 weeks of 6 visits of 1st, 3rd, and 5th from 10 to 2 supervised. Are you asking or requesting from the court that you not have to go 3 months of supervised visits to see your child?
Yes, ma'am.
Objection is to pre-negotiations.
That's over. Go ahead.
Ideally,
Sorry,
you would like
Karen.
to start out with the expanded standard visitation, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're willing to co-parent with Ms. Limerick?
Yes, ma'am.
In fact, she sent detailed instructions to your mother when she would leave the baby with your mother on the care and how to take care of the child, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And she's left the child with your mother, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So she obviously has trusted your mother, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Ms. Limerick had asked about you having supervised visits with her father, but has there been a situation where her father was threatening to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What did he say to you?
He told me to stay away from his daughter. It's cuss words in between there.
Gotcha.
Or he would hurt me if I don't. So
Okay. It was your understanding the child's still in daycare, correct?
yes, ma'am.
Until today, did you know that now the grandmother's keeping the baby during the week?
No, ma'am.
She hadn't even bothered to explain that to you?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Um, where do you request the drop-off pickup location be, Mr. Watson?
The drop off and pickups I requested was at HEB in Orange, being that Miss Limrick still stays in Beaumont. And being I work shift work, it takes me an hour to drive to Newton if I'm working to pick that kid up. And if it's a pickup time at 6 o'clock, I couldn't get there at 6 o'clock, but I can get to the HEB in Orange about 6 o'clock.
Okay, and you get off at 5, correct?
5:30.
5:30. So you could be there by 6 for pickups, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so your request is that the pickups be at the HEB in Orange?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And we were proposing that the drop-offs would be back at the daycare on Monday mornings,
Ms. Bennett,
correct?
Ms. Bennett, you can't ask questions about your negotiations.
Okay,
Take a position or don't.
Gotcha. Mr. Watson, where do you propose that you drop off the child after your visits?
At the daycare.
Okay. And Mr. Watson, we've also requested that Ms. Limerick provide you've requested the insurance, the Social Security card for the child, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And she won't give that to you, correct?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And you're requesting that you need the Social Security card and birth certificate so you can get the insurance going, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And are you requesting the court to order her to provide that information to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you feel like that you owe 22 past months of full child support for this child?
No, ma'am.
What amount do you request the court to consider for back child support, considering that you have paid for daycare, clothes, strollers, diapers, formula, and cash to Miss Limerick?
20,000.
And if you're paying $16.68 in child support starting November 1st, what are you requesting that you would pay a month in arrearages?
$50, an extra $50.
Okay. Mr. Watson, are you also asking the court to take into consideration that this was not filed until January of 2023 and request that any back child support not go any further than January of 2023?
Yes, ma'am.
And if you look at January 2023, when this is filed, and considering what you've been paying per month and paid overtime, then that amount of arrearages would be significantly less, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
If I understand correctly, Ms. Watson, it's your understanding Ms. Limerick wants $16.68 for 22 months, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And if I do 1668 times 10 months, that comes to 16,000, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And then giving you credit for payments that you've made in 2023, that should probably get you down less than $10,000. Do you agree?
Yes, ma'am.
That kind of contradicts what he just answered your question the first time, Ms. Bennett. You asked him what a reasonable amount was. He said 20,000. Now you're saying it's less than that?
Well, I think that was considering if it was going back full from the date of birth of the child.
Well, that's not the question that was asked, and that was not the question that was answered. So,
okay, well, and that was what I was talking about at the time. Mr. Watson, when I asked you about what past child support would be for the child previously, when you answered the 20,000, that was if the court takes it all the way back to the date of birth, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And if we take it back to January of 2023, we think that the court needs to look at the 1668 minus what you've been paying and to reduce it for $10,000 or less. Do you agree with that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And also, and you understand, Mr. Watson, being able to see your child and paying child support are two completely different obligations, correct?
It is. Yes, ma'am.
But you've been fighting trying to see this child for the last year and a half. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you would like the court to take that into consideration?
Yes, ma'am.
And you, and in fact, you would cherish the opportunity to have some makeup time for all the time that you've missed from seeing this child, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You can't do makeup time, Ms. Bennett. There's no court order in effect.
Gotcha. Would you like the court to take that into consideration in beginning with a visitation schedule, Mr. Watson?
Yes, ma'am.
And would you like the court to take that in consideration and allow you to begin with an expanded standard visitation schedule?
Yes, ma'am.
Knowing that you will co-parent with Ms. Limrick 100%?
Yes, ma'am.
And the two of you will co-parent going forward?
Yes, ma'am.
So just to sum up, Mr. Watson, you're requesting that the expanded standard possession order start now, the pickup and drop off be at the HEB in Orange, and that the arrearages be capped off at no more than $10,000.
Yes, ma'am.
That's all I have.
Your witness, Ms. Alexander.
A few follow-up questions, Your Honor. Mr. Watson, you stated you work in Orange County, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What county do you live in?
I stay in Newton County.
Okay. When did you know that you were the father of Cabry?
When did I know? After I got the DNA test, I knew for sure that Cabry was my daughter.
Okay. Did you think you were her father prior to that?
I didn't sign the birth certificate. I had a question mark about it.
Careful, Mr. Watson. Careful.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You're starting to get into an area that you're going to get yourself right into a big old judge bear trap. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
I told you, I warned you when you came in here and asked for the DNA test that I wasn't going to use the fact that you asked for a DNA test against you. But
Yes, sir.
you need to be careful about the road
Yes, sir.
you're about to go down. You understand?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Miss Alexander.
Thank you, Your Honor. But you had visits with Cabry last year, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were paying parts or all of it, the daycare, based on what you've testified, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did you file any kind of pleadings yourself prior
That's in
to
the court
January?
file, Miss Alexander. They don't need that.
Okay. All right. No further questions, Your Honor.
Your witness, Miss Bennett.
Mr. Watson, when did you get the DNA results?
They sent me to get the DNA results. I got them when I went to the court the last time for the hearing. That's when they told me about it, the results of the DNA.
And even before that, you were providing cash, money, and to
Yes, ma'am.
without a court order, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you would like the court to take that into consideration, that you didn't even know that you were technically the father until the DNA test came out, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
Your witness, Miss Alexander.
No further questions, Your Honor. The state rests.
I have no other witnesses, Miss Alexander.
No other witnesses, Your Honor.
Miss Bennett, the state has rested its case. Do you have any recall or any other witnesses that you need to talk to?
No, Your Honor.
All right. I have some confusion. Go figure. Mr. Watson, you live in Newton County.
Yes, sir.
Miss Limrick, unmute, please. There you go.
Okay.
All right. Miss Limrick, what county do you live in?
It was Newton County will be Berkeley.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, that's what I want. You live in Newton County.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you both live in the same county?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Watson, where does your mother live? What county does your mother live in?
Newton County.
I'm trying to figure out where this is difficult. Okay. Miss Limrick, have you in the past allowed Mr. Watson's mother to keep Cabry?
No,
Never.
never. She has never spent the night or anything there. Because
Uh,
she won't keep her. His mom is sickly. She's a diabetic. So she said she won't keep Cabry because she don't know if she'll black out. She said when she gets older, she said she would.
Okay. So you've never, so don't project into the future. My question is in the past. So you have
No, she has
never
never.
let me ask the question before you answer the question, because you don't know what the
Yes, sir.
question is going to be, Miss Limbrick.
Yes, sir.
Have you ever left Cabry in the care of Mr. Watson's mother?
No,
Never.
no.
Has Cabry ever been to Mr. Watson's mother's house?
Yes.
And you stayed there the whole time while
Yes.
Cabry was there?
Yes, sir.
Does Mr. Watson and your dad have a history of issues, Miss Limbrick?
Not that I was aware of.
Are you aware that your father may have threatened Mr. Watson?
No, sir, I was not.
Okay. I mean, this is the easy problem to solve. I mean, there's no non-disclosure, so Mr. Limbrick will be the one that, if there's supervised visits, that'll be supervising the visits. Okay. And if everybody lives in Newton County, so the exchange is going to take place in Newton County. That's also pretty easy. Now, the child was in a daycare in Jefferson County. Is that correct, Miss Limbrick?
Yes, sir.
Not anymore.
No, sir.
All right. When the child was normally at the daycare in Jefferson County, what time would you pick the child up from daycare after you got off work?
4 or 5 o'clock the latest.
Right. Now, Mr. Watson testified that there was a time period that he went by there to see the child and you had gone early to pick up the child from daycare. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Did you do that because the daycare worker contacted you to let you know that Mr. Watson was coming by to see the child?
No, sir.
Why did you get off early that day and pick her up from the daycare?
I didn't get off. I didn't get off early to pick her from daycare. She has a doctor's appointment that day, and I can't show proof. I can't show proof of that.
You might need to be ready for that.
That's fine. That's fine.
It does sound a little suspicious, don't you, Miss
Yes,
Limbrick?
yes, it
He was there
does.
to visit with the child, and somehow the child got picked up early.
Correct. And all this time he's been going to see her. When he was going to see her at the daycare, I wouldn't do that. No.
Okay, all right. But he had a history up to that point in time of visiting the child at the daycare.
Yes. Yes.
So you think that was just like a one-time thing because you guys weren't talking? He didn't know she had a doctor's appointment.
Correct.
Okay, all right. That's not a bad thing. It could happen, especially if he was having regular contact with her at the daycare. Miss Limbrick, let me ask you, now, Mr. Watson, you said, was having some contact with Cabry at the daycare. Is that correct?
Mhm. Yes.
Why was he having contact at the daycare? How come he wasn't having contact at your house?
Well, this is the thing. Okay, you have to put your emotions aside for the child because it's about the child,
Exactly.
no longer you anymore. Okay,
Exactly right.
so when I wanted him to meet with my cousin because I couldn't handle it at the time.
Okay.
So I'd rather you meet with her with the baby than to
Okay.
rub stuff in my face.
Okay.
So he didn't want to do that.
So hold on. Don't jump to conclusions, Miss Limbrick. I just want to know the reason why he was visiting with the child was the daycare was because you were having issues with Mr. Watson and you guys couldn't be in the same place at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So for whatever reason, y'all couldn't put that aside for Cabry.
I did. I tried.
I understand. Okay. Does he know where you live in Newton?
He knows where my dad stayed.
That's not what
And
I
that's-
asked. I
that's
asked
what-
you if
Yes, he does,
Okay,
because that's
okay.
where I reside.
you're living at your dad's place.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Hey, Mr. Watson, you can still hear me, yeah?
Yes, sir.
When was the last time you actually seen Cabry?
June.
So it's been 4 months since you've seen this baby.
Yes, sir.
Miss Limrick, you did tell me that there was once or twice in September, I believe, that Mr. Watson reached out to you to try to make contact with Cabry, but you told him due to some advice that you got from an attorney that you couldn't make that happen. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. So before September, when you visited with this attorney, did Mr. Watson reach out to you to visit with Cabry?
No, sir.
But now, when did you stop sending Cabry to the daycare?
In August, the end of August.
Okay, so up until that point in time, he could go by the daycare and visit with the child.
No, sir. He could. It was the incident that happened at the daycare where he disrespected the mom's mom and she made her feel uncomfortable. So I didn't want to jeopardize her being the only person to watch her at the time that I was living in Beaumont. So I told him he had to come to my house. That's when he came to my house, and I was trying to get him to meet with my cousin, but he didn't. I didn't stop him. I still let him see her outside.
That's not what I asked you, Ms. Lim.
Yes, sir.
That's the problem with people when they come into these video conference hearings and trials. They just tend to ramble. I just
Yes,
want
sir.
you to answer my question.
Yes, sir.
You stopped the visitation at the daycare. Is that true?
Yes, sir.
When did you stop the visitation at the daycare?
It was back in was it September or October? Probably September, October of last year. I can't give the exact date.
So up till that point in time, Mr. Watson was having some contact with Cabry at the daycare, but it stopped in September, October of last year.
Yes, sir.
And since that time, the only contact that he's had is whatever you've been willing to give him that he's been willing to agree to. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Does Cabry have a social security card, Miss Limbrick?
Yes, sir.
So, Mr. Watson, you said that your mother is capable of supervising the visitation if I order that. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And where does your mother live? What city?
Newton.
Okay.
Newton, Texas.
So everybody's right there in Newton. The happy little place.
Yes, sir.
I was just there a couple of days ago.
You like it?
I'm from Woodville, Mr. Watson. I like everything to do with East Texas. So do I like it? No, I don't like Newton because they used to beat us like a bunch of redheaded stepchildren in high school football, but that was 50 years ago, so I don't have to worry about that anymore.
I know that's right.
Well, this is interesting. So, Mr. Watson, you haven't had any real contact with Cabry since June.
Since June, yes, sir.
I'm not blaming you, Mr. Watson. I'm just stating that's a fact.
Yes, sir.
And I got a 21-month-old baby. Is that right, Mr. Watson?
Yes.
All right.
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Watson, let's look at this from a factual basis, okay? You're asking me to give you overnight weekend visits for this child starting now, correct?
Yes. Yes, sir.
So let's answer some simple questions. Have you ever had this child overnight by yourself?
No, sir.
Have you ever had this child for an entire day by yourself?
Yes. Well, 6 hours. Yes, sir. I would say by
Pretty
myself.
close. That's pretty close to a whole day. All right. So, and when was that you had that one day by yourself?
That was November the 12th.
So a year ago.
Yes, sir.
All right. So if I'm doing the math right, You haven't had any contact with Cabry since June, and the last time you had any significant contact with Cabry was a year ago. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
That's not your fault, Mr. Watson. I'm not blaming you. I'm just stating a fact, right?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Watson, you have another child that's 21, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So Cabry's 21 months old, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Do you think, in your opinion, you think Cabry's ready to spend weekend visits with you without having seen you in 4 months?
No, sir. Not
See,
overnight.
I love reasonable. When you get right down to the bottom line of it, Mr. Watson, it's just about what's right for Cabry.
Correct.
So reasonable is okay. I do understand you wanting weekends, Mr. Watson. I do, and I'm gonna give them to you eventually. But you got to get to know Cabry first again. And that's not your fault. I'm not blaming you for that, but that's what's in Cabry's best interest right now. You understand?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Judge, got a
Yes.
question. I don't know what
No. This is
I
the
don't know
wonderful
where.
thing. Hold on, Mr. Watson. Hold on. This is a wonderful thing about my spot, right?
Yes, sir.
You made the right choice and went out and hired a great attorney to represent you. Okay. So
Yes, sir.
she's going to do her job and make sure that I have the information she thinks I need in order to make the right decision in this case, or at least the one that's slanted in your favor. That's her job.
Yes, sir.
So you don't get to ask questions. Miss Bennett gets
Yes,
to
sir.
ask questions. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. We'll let Miss Bennett do the job that you're paying her to do.
Yes, sir.
All right. So I think I've heard all the testimony I need to hear. Mr. Watson's represented by Miss Bennett. Miss Limrick does not have an attorney, and therefore, because you are pro se, Miss Limrick, that's a Latin term that means you don't have an attorney represent you. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Miss Limrick, is there anything else you think I need to know about this case before I make a ruling?
No, sir.
No. Look, y'all, I like honest, and honest is good. I do understand that people tend to hedge their bets a little bit when they get in front of me. I get it. It's just human nature. Miss Bennett, is there any brief closing that you wish to make in regards to this case?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Your Honor, based on Mr. Watson's testimony, I think he understands that there needs to be some sort of a phase in. But I think he is concerned about a long phase in. He would like to have some sort of short phase in so he could start spending some quality time with this baby that he's been trying to see for so long. He has been trying to help support, and I would ask that you take that into consideration in their request for arrearages. I think 22 months is too long. I don't, and he has been helping. He has been cooperative. And I would ask that the court take that into consideration, the fact that he's not been able to see the child, even though he's requested and tried to go to daycare to see it. I asked the court for supervised visitation, that they would consider his mother to be the supervisor. We were hoping the daycare provider would be the supervisor and he could go to the daycare. But the problem is, we just found out today that the child's no longer in the daycare facility. So that
makes sense. They're not,
yeah.
They don't live there anymore.
And, I know we're on streaming, so addresses can't be discussed, but I think at some point, Mr. Watson just needs to know where the child is living, because he doesn't know the address in Newton of where they're staying. So that can be something that maybe can be addressed in the final orders.
It's going to be in the order. I mean,
Okay.
Miss Limrick's home address is going to be in the court order, and it's going to be the one in Newton County.
Okay, perfect. And we would just request the court to be, do we lose somebody?
Well, you started to break up, Miss Bennett.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
Internet's wonderful. And we would just ask the court to take into consideration a speedy phase in so he can start spending time with his child, and not look at arrearages past January of 2023 when this AG case first came up. And then he had to have the DNA testing to confirm that he was the father.
That's Miss Bennett. I don't know if you were here when the DNA was done. Were you the attorney of record? More than likely, Miss Bennett. When I brought the parties in on the record and asked Mr. Watson if he wanted a DNA test, always know, Miss Bennett, that I advised all of my potential fathers in these paternity cases, they have a right to ask for a DNA test, even if they really don't need one.
Mhm.
And I probably push them toward taking a DNA test just so they can get that out of their head.
Sure.
But that's a double-edged sword. I don't use it against Mr. Watson for asking a DNA test, but I'm also not going to allow Mr. Watson to use it as a shield in regards to the other issues. So
Perfect.
just
Understood.
that's kind of how the nature of that is used. I would rather be safe than sorry. But I have a number of occasions where the fathers, in fact, I had 3 or 4 this week that said, no, judge, I don't want a DNA test. I know I'm the father. That's their right as well. They have the right to say, no, I don't want to take one. So,
Sure. Got it.
Miss Alexander, do you have any summation?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. The court's going to find the court has jurisdiction. The court's going to find. I will confirm the agreement of the parties. I'll make sure I got this right. And if I'm wrong, Miss Alexander will tell me, or Miss Bennett will chirp in and let me know that I did not have the agreement correct. The agreement is that Mr. Watson is found to be the biological and now the legal father of this child. The parties will be named as joint managed conservators of the child, with Miss Limrick as the party with the right to establish the primary residence of the child in Newton or Jefferson County, or a county that touches either of those 2 counties. And at some point in time, Mr. Watson is going to receive the extended standard possession order. There will be some phased in visitation, and I will get to that directly. The child support is that Mr. Watson has agreed to maintain the health insurance on the child and the dental insurance on the child through his employer. And he's going to pay child support in the amount of $1,668 per month. Miss Husband, there's Miss Burton asking somebody to step in and help her. $1,668 in child support beginning November the 1st of 2023. Mr. Watson has no other dependents besides this child. I did not hear anything in regards to court costs, but I am going to order that the court costs will be paid by Mr. Watson, but I will give him until April the 30th of 2024 to pay the court cost. Ms. Alexander, did I have the terms of the agreement correct on the record?
Just one clarification, Judge. The agreement was Jefferson County and contiguous to Jefferson and Newton.
Yeah, any county that touches. I think I said that, but yeah. That's what I have in my notes. Jefferson
Okay.
in any county that touches them.
No, just any county that touches Jefferson, not Newton.
Right.
Okay.
I probably wasn't specific enough, but I see it on the paper. I understood what it's supposed to say when it gets to me. Jefferson,
Okay.
any county that touches Jefferson or Newton County.
Just
No.
Jefferson County.
Just, yeah, only the counties that touch Jefferson and Newton, because the counties that touch Newton don't touch Jefferson.
It's Jefferson
So
and
you-
contiguous
so
and Newton.
Okay, so that's not what was on the record. So what the agreement is Jefferson and contiguous to Jefferson plus Newton County.
Yes.
Okay, that's different. All right. I need to make that different then. So Jefferson and contiguous counties plus Newton County.
Yes.
Okay, that will get rid of all the northern counties. So yeah, that's probably a good move on y'all's part. Now, the only issues that are remaining before me are going to be the visitation and the retroactive child support. The court's going to find that it is certainly in Cabry's best interest for Mr. Watson to have visitation. I'm going to find that there has been some time that has passed since Mr. Watson has had significant contact with Cabry. And I'm also going to find that due to the fact that Cabry is only 21 months old, that she and Mr. Watson are not ready for overnights at this time. I'm going to order a phased in visitation schedule with 4 visits at each phase, Miss Alexander. That will be 4 visits supervised by Miss Limrick. That will be 4 visits unsupervised for a half a day. That will be 4 visits unsupervised for the day, followed by 4 one-night overnight visits, Saturday at 6 to Sunday at 6. The 4 visits that will be supervised will be 1 to 5 p.m. on the 1st and 3rd and 5th Saturday of the month. The 4 visits that will be unsupervised will be on the 1st, 3rd, and 5th Saturday of each month from 1 to 5. And the 4 visits that are unsupervised from the day will be from 9 to 6, I believe was what the phase-in schedule says, Miss Alexander. Is that right?
I believe it's something similar to that. Yes, Judge.
All right. And it's either 9 to 6 or 8 to 6. It's one or the other. For the record, I will say 9 p.m. to 6 p.m. That's what I will say for the record. So 9 to 6 is what the visitation would be. Now, Miss Limrick will supervise the visitation, the 4 visits that are supervised. All exchanges will be at the home of Miss Limrick. They live in Newton County. There's no reason to meet someplace else. Now, if the parties wish to agree to meet someplace else, Miss Bennett, Miss Alexander, and Miss Limbrick, they can do so. But in the order, it's going to say that the exchange of this child will take place at the home of Miss Limbrick in Newton County. And that way there's no ifs, ands, or buts about where that's supposed to happen. And any request for non-disclosure is denied. So Miss Limbrick is required by statute to give the exact location of where the child can be exchanged. Miss Limbrick is hereby advised by the court that the law states if you change your address, Miss Limbrick, you are required by statute to notify Mr. Watson by certified mail 30 days prior to your change in address of where that address is going to be. That will give Mr. Watson an opportunity to make adjustments to where he can pick up the child. And if you intend to move someplace outside of the geographic restriction that is in my court order, Mr. Watson will be able to go out and hire an attorney to stop that from happening. Okay, so that takes care of that issue. Retroactive child support, the amount of $15,000, that'll be paid back at a rate of $100 a month each and every month, also beginning November the 1st of 2023, and every month thereafter until it's paid in full. That take care of all the issues before me in this court. In this case, Miss Alexander.
Yes, Your Honor.
Miss Bennett, did you hear and understand the court order as I just put it on the record?
Yes, Your Honor.
Not. Miss Bennett, do you wish to review and sign this court order?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you very much, Miss Bennett. I don't know if I have told you this, but I do wish more attorneys would review and sign court orders. Hard in too many of them just say, nope, I don't need to review and sign. I don't know about that. Miss Limbrick, you are unrepresented in this case, and so I'm going to inform you first. Miss Alexander is going to prepare a court order based on my order today. So that is going to be a majority of that will be the agreement that you and Mr. Watson just agreed to on the record in my court. There will be part of it that is not agreed, and that is the retroactive child support and the visitation. And then Miss Alexander is going to send that proposed order to Miss Bennett. If Miss Bennett agrees that the order that Miss Alexander prepared matches what I said, then Miss Bennett's going to sign it. And then they're going to send it to me for signature, and I'm going to sign it because I believe that if both attorneys sign it, the order has to be right, because attorneys are hard to get to agree to anything. But if they agree that the order is correct, then I'm going to sign it and get it back to them. Then they're going to make a copy of it. They're going to send it to you. Now, Miss Alexander will send a copy of it to Miss Bennett and Mr. Watson, and they'll do their thing. But that's how you'll get your copy of the court order. Okay, Miss Limbrick?
Yes, sir.
Now, Miss Limbrick, Miss Bennett is aware of this. Miss Alexander is aware of this. So I will advise you of this, just so you know. You do not have to be satisfied with the ruling that I've made today. If you are not satisfied, specifically in regards to the visitation and the retroactive child support, because the rest of it was agreed. But if you're not satisfied with my ruling on the visitation and the retroactive child support, then you are free to file a notice of appeal with the district clerk's office in Jefferson County. That appeal must be in writing. It has to be filed within the next 3 business days. And you have to be specific in your appeal, Ms. Limbrick, and tell the referring court what part of my ruling you disagree with. You're also responsible for sending a copy of that written appeal to all the other non-appealing parties. Do you understand that is your right, Ms. Limbrick?
Yes, sir.
All right. That take care of all the issues in this case from the position of the state.
Yes, Your Honor. Do we want to set an order entry date? Not that I don't trust Gary.
Miss Bennett's pretty good about getting the orders done and back.
I'll be quick.
Okay.
I will.
If there's
I will-
an issue, we'll just.
Exactly. If Miss Alexander and Miss Bennett do not agree on the terms and conditions of the court order, then Miss Alexander will be forced to set this for an entry date sometime at the first part of November.
Perfect.
Right?
All right.
So if you don't see it, if you don't get a court order in the next couple of days on this case, Miss Limbrick, then watch your email for when the next hearing date's going to be, because you know there's going to be another hearing. And the only thing I'm going to do at that hearing, Miss Limbrick, is just make sure that the order that I get is the one I'm going to sign because it matches what I said today. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Y'all are all free to go. I thank you for being here today. I wish you both, all of you, the best of luck for Cabry's benefit. Okay.
Thank you, Judge.
Good
Thank
luck
you.
to you.